Hey, everybody. I'm going to give everybody a second just to settle in nice and quietly. Okay. Welcome back. I hope everybody had something to eat and that you're feeling refreshed. We are going to go and move on to an exciting session ahead. It's going to be a panel discussion that will be followed by a live product podcast interview, which I mentioned earlier. So in between the transitions, I would appreciate if everybody who's not moving, or if anybody needs to move, just kind of keep it down a little bit. We do have a quick transition into something extra fun. We are about to be lots of fun as a panel here. So we're going to dive right in. Today's panel is going to be partnering with AI agents to build stronger teams and smarter products. I will be moderating this conversation today alongside the incredible lineup of experts. So we have Sungha Park from Sendbird, Suzanne Jones from IBM, and Sally Fuller from BT. Let's welcome them to the stage, please. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI agents first, and then we're going to dive into some questions. So AI agents are emerging as powerful allies in our space, as we all know. The autonomous systems that are powered by advanced artificial intelligence are capable of performing complex tasks, making decisions, and even collaborating with human teams today. From automating routine processes to providing data-driven insights, these agents are now revolutionizing how we approach product creation and team dynamics. In 2025, as we further understand what AI itself can bring to our businesses and to our teams, we're seeing these agents transition from experimental technology to critical components of many team workflows, promising to enhance creativity, innovation, and efficiency overall. Understanding these AI agents is no longer a competitive advantage for us. It's becoming a necessity for product and tech professionals at all levels. As we continue to mature, and as they continue to mature, they are reshaping the landscape of product management, and they're influencing everything from market research and user experience to project planning and execution. Our panel today is they're bringing together diverse perspectives, offering insights into how AI agents are being integrated into their business models and team structures. So whether you are sitting here as a seasoned product leader or just starting your career in tech and in product, grasping the potential and implications of AI agents will be critical in navigating rapidly changing technology and building products that truly resonate with our users in this AI-augmented world. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. Ready? I'm going to start with a big question, and you can talk a little bit about your team, what's going on in your world. So how is everyone leveraging AI agents today? And can you share some use cases and impact? We'll start with Sungha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sangha. I came today with a very, interesting title, AI Agent Workforce Leader. But like many of you, I do product as well. What we do is, while we are internalizing a lot of AI agents into our work streams, we are actually externally pushing it a lot as well. And one of that is AI Customer Support Agent. So we're building a customer support agent that is fully autonomous and that can basically handle complex queries. I think if we just talk about the impact, I think as for product, as a product leader, I think it has really made it so much easier for us to prototype. So I don't want to necessarily show any products, but let's say if you're using V0 from Versal, typically you needed like a designer or engineer to prototype, but now actually you can just do that all your own, and you can almost do that in less than 10, 15 minutes. So I think that has been a huge impact internally for us as a product.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool, and that's a really cool title as well. So that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah, I think maybe and I see a lot of parallels in terms of what. How we're bringing AI into IBM. So Suzanne, hi everyone from IBM. At IBM, our vision is to bring AI and automation into everything that we do. And that's from the top of the organization down. And that's really to help us achieve a few outcomes. One of them is productivity, then it's really looking at how do we deliver scaled delivery, with pace and customer and user experience. So those kind of three outcomes is really at the heart of how we work. And the way that we've done that is to really look at ourselves as client zero. And what we mean by that is really looking at ourselves as a test case to kind of prove a lot of this transformation. So we enable all of our colleagues around the world in different parts of our business with our technology. So that is looking at our Watson X suite, our Granite models, and those that sit within that family of models. And so we're able to look at scaling AI across all of our workflows. So whether that's in our functions, in our product teams, wherever it might be, that's where we're bringing it in there. And so if we take, if we look at kind of the impact of that, that means our product teams get real insight, kind of seeing it in action, and therefore can look at how to make it work better for our organization, but also for our clients. And therefore, if we now pivot to kind of into one of our teams, if we look at our customer experience team, so saying how similar to what you were speaking about, they're now at a point where they forget that they're working with AI agents. So, if we kind of in the customer support space, 75% of inquiries are handled by our agents, but it doesn't stop there. The agents then work with our employees to really triage some of those complex problems so that we're able to work to resolution faster. And so we're able to get to a point where we're seeing benefits of 25% in terms of resolution. And we're also seeing kind of time saved for the teams of 45 minutes to an hour a day for teams. And so we're really starting to see that kind of benefit across our organization. And then finally, in our consulting business, we've created a platform, the IBM Consulting Advantage platform, which some of you would have maybe seen. We're kind of showcasing that in the booth outside. And it's really where we have a platform that allows us to do our consulting work with clients, together with our clients. And that often involves helping the transformation or creating products and services. And we're able to use thousands of agents and assistants that are then curated into the kind of work that we need to do. And we call that kind of our everyday assistants and agent packs that we're able to bring into that work. And we're seeing a lot of benefit around that.
Fantastic. So just building on that, I was just going to talk about three areas where we're experimenting and scaling up agents. With some safeguards as well, I should say. The first one is really how do we enable our salespeople to have more proactive offers? So taking into account the customer situation, taking into account trends that the agents might detect, and also latest offers, so that we can help fulfill that customer demand in the most proactive and creative way. The second way is in service. So how do we enable a better experience through our agents that we're deploying in service? Now that might be for order fulfillment. So if our agents can detect that there's a stock problem, that agent could proactively manage the expectation of the customer. It could actually go and proactively order more stock. It might even suggest a different alternative or a refund. So that experience for that fulfillment journey is completely different. We're also looking at our complaint logs and insight into those. So obviously we can feed that into better product design, and looking at our network and our network performance and statistics so that we've got a much more predictable experience in network, which might actually guide how customers run their day based on whether there's a planned network change or a network outage. But the last one, which is sort of more dear to my heart as leading a team of product managers, is how do we actually enable our customers? So we serve all of the business sizes in the UK from virtually every industry. And agentic AI on device is just probably the most exciting thing that we've ever seen, actually. And that's going to give our customers a virtual team in their pocket. It's going to give them the ability to have proactive, autonomous, independent help wherever they are doing their work. And we actually believe that won't just save lives and make work more productive, it'll make it healthier and safer. So we think that's a pretty important role for us as product teams to design in and look to the future.
I love it. Okay. Let's move into teams and how it's impacting us. So in what ways are your product teams optimizing their usage of AI agents during the product development lifecycle? And let's start with Suzanne on this one.
Okay. So as I was saying earlier, we have, in our consulting business, we have our Consulting Advantage platform. And within that, we've curated all of our assistants and agents into persona groups and into really looking at workflows. So around the personas, we care for all roles in our product team. So we have kind of assistants for our product managers, our product owners, our designers, our engineers, our testers, product operations. And what that means is that we're able to help those individuals kind of take out the mundane tasks and to be able to do, make sure things get done that maybe don't typically get done, the things that we don't like to do, and really focus on value add and to be able to do that kind of safely within the platform. And so if we look at just our product managers, we're starting to see some productivity benefits in the 20 to 40% space, even just around things like user story creation, value measurement, really looking at product reviews and doing analytics on that. So just starting to look at that, we're starting to see that benefit. And then with our product teams, we're now starting to bring that together. So if we think across sort of the whole product life cycle, if we have agents in those different areas, working with some of those business solutions that I think we all work with in terms of Figma and Jira and GitHub and so on, we're able to start to, and we're starting to today, link together the work that's happening by those different roles and different parts of the team. And you can imagine we can go from user stories, we can then plug those into Jira, that can then actually help to then go, the agents can go and create code, that code can then be tested, and so we're starting to have the agents orchestrated together to really drive kind of a benefit across the product life cycle. And so that's what our teams are currently doing.
Love it. Sally, do you want to weigh in on it?
That's fantastic. I love that. Like getting loads of advice. I love the way that we can quickly create a demo or a proof of concept or a use case, and that can be really informed by trawling lots of insight. Hardest thing about B2B is walking a day in our customers' shoes today, but also then predicting what a day in the life might be in the future when we've deployed agentic on their device. So being able to imagine that with lots of context and lots of insight is really exciting, and actually being able to bring that to life as a demo. So it's definitely helping us to do that. And we're also using it, obviously we're thinking about how do we design the environment so that it can be safe and it can be secure, it can be compliant for customer adoption. So that takes quite a lot of typical product design skills and risk management skills. So we're skilling up quite a lot about how do we understand this, how do we understand the risks and the safeguards so that our customers can roll out and deploy successfully.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, lastly, we're a much smaller company, so we don't have an end-to-end internal platform. So a lot of product managers, they have to individually find, let's say, what's the best current resource, what's the best tool out there. And I just mentioned like V0, for instance, as one of the example. I think the other common tool that a lot of our peers or a lot of our colleagues use is Notebook LM. I think it's a product from Gemini, Google. I know that a lot of people actually give not too much credit for Google, but Notebook LM, I think, has been really great for, let's say, competitive research for us, or doing a deep dive research in such one of the topics. And for us, AI customer service is a pretty crowded space. So understanding your competitiveness, what the other players are doing, all of that is actually pretty important for us. But what you do is, so you feed all the, let's say, YouTube links, all the podcasts, all the articles that mention like one of your competitors, and just plug it in there. And then you have a repository of knowledge where you can actually just constantly ask and have it as some kind of source of truth almost, so that you can almost extract knowledge anytime you want. And like those tools, I'm sure there are many of them like that that are out there for products. And that has been really helping us get more clarity and insights into that, I guess, in the past would have taken much, much longer for us.
Cool. Yeah. With that, I want to ask, what are some challenges and maybe some learnings with this as you've brought it into your team?
Yeah, I can, since I'm using a lot of tools, I can take a stab at that. Yeah. I think the first challenge that we had, I guess personally and internally, was that a lot of times it was, as we all know, it was giving different answers every time. So if I asked slightly differently, it would give me slightly different answers. And sometimes the answers were also not so much the same. So I think the learning from that was first, I think we all really had to get used to that undeterministic or that variability. And we just had to be comfortable with that. It's like basically a child where you need to be used to that. So I think that was one huge learning. And the next one that coming from that accepting that uncomfortableness was that, oh, how do we evaluate this? And when I say evaluate, it's not something like, we're not talking about something really complex. It's just about, whether you have let's say, a personal or internal system of making sure that whether it's saying the right thing or whether it's saying the wrong thing or whether it's saying something from your expectation. So once you start to have that, I think it got much better in terms of how you use, let's say, AI agents, because you know now that it's whether inside your expectation or outside your expectation. And if it's outside expectation, then you can start to either prompt it or either do some other tools to make sure it's doing the right things for you.
But I think what you're highlighting is just get in and start experimenting, right? Start learning. And so having that mindset around being able to explore, test, direct a bit, try new things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think from just kind of thinking about that, the challenge, and I guess from my perspective, in another level, I think part of it is just building awareness and education around sort of what kind of the organization is willing to do, kind of getting alignment around sort of the guardrails and the conditions and sort of the sandbox that people can operate within, and then just really being able to drive that enablement. Because I guess from my perspective, it's really a change program and really trying to get that change and teams actually using and working with it. And I say that's kind of what we're facing into at the moment, is really driving sort of that adoption and kind of tactics to do that. I don't know, Sally, are you facing?
100%.
Yeah.
It's really learning. Obviously, the quality of the decision making that agentic is going to support is really dependent on the quality of the data, and therefore trying not to misapply it so we don't get hallucinations because the data is unsound, and making sure that as we experiment, we're aware, is it going to support a critical decision? Is it going to have a decision that has a lot of consequences? And if the data quality is poor, obviously that is a huge risk and the trust is broken. So considering the quality of the data, considering the criticality and the consequences, and managing that, as you said, with guardrails, so that we can experiment and improve is really, really important.
Yeah.
Oh, let's pull on that a little bit. All right, so we went from learning about this new tech to now experimenting, as we love to do in product. So how do we now do this and implement all of this at scale? Why don't you take this?
Oh, this is the bread and butter for product management, because scale is everything. Scale is repeatability, it's quality, it's unit economics, it's governance and compliance, it's supporting our promises. So I think every time we build an experiment or a proof of concept, we've got to have the end design in mind, and we've got to have that scalability and future-proofing in mind. And that's what product is so good at doing. And that includes selecting the right suppliers who are going to scale and grow with us, building the right privacy controls, the right security controls, considering what needs to be done to be compliant. All the design thinking and all the toolkit that product managers use is as critical in this design and development as ever before. And I love that saying of earlier, God is in the detail. I think it's so true as we look at taking these experiments and scaling them out.
Yeah, so do you want to take? No, please. You sure?
Yep.
Go for it.
I think for us, scalability has two folds. So one definitely for our end customers, where our end customers are business who are using them, who are using the AI agents for customer service. For them, definitely, I think the scalability and the compliance part is a huge thing. So I think if we cannot check that box, I think oftentimes we would only end up in POCs and pilots and actually never end up in production. So I think that's definitely been one. For us externally, for us internally for product, I think, let's say, I don't necessarily want to use this word, but because it's too engineering, but like for version control, things like version control has been a big thing that even products had to be used to, because if you, let's say, change the model or if you change a prompt, Or if you start to feed another set of data, then it would start to give you a different set of answers. So if you were actually assuming that everything stays the same, and if you expect the answers to be the same, that's not necessarily the case. So now you really have to, if you are scaling it, you really have to make sure that you're using one version of it. And then if you're changing it, you have to make sure that, there's a new version that has all the changes in it.
Yeah, I think that probably what I'd add is that I think if we can just get teams to be working on bringing it in together, so not in different roles, but actually teams collaborating. And I think we've seen a lot of success when we've been able to run AI design-a-thons or AI hack events where we've got like the teams together in a learning event, but they're really practicing and they're trying to work through some of those issues and some of those workflow pain points together. And that can bring a lot of benefits. So I just think in a safe environment with a sandbox, if we could just get everyone to get going, I think that would be amazing.
Okay. So what are some of the risks and some mitigations on bringing AI agents in overall? Who wants to take this one first?
Should I go?
Sure.
I think risk of it, as I said, definitely a big factor for us, at least for our customers. Because I think everyone is well aware of the hallucinations. Sometimes it says the wrong thing. Sometimes it would ask if you're not supposed to refund. Sometimes it would just give you a refund. So I think we're all aware of that risk. And as for mitigation, I think there are really many for us. One, I'll just talk about one since we don't have much time. I think one of the ways that we've been doing is that we really start the, let's say, production or pilot with actual customers with a really small percentage. So let's say we start with the 1%, or we start with the exact one customer support use case that our customers want, and then see how that actually works in the real life. Because in the real life, all of our customers, all of our end users, we know they're fickle, they're wild. So I think bringing to production as a reality, I think has been a big mitigation factor for us because we can see what the people really interact and say with their AI agents. Yep.
Yeah, and I think to that point, I think also thinking about, I think a big risk is the organizational readiness. Like I think right now, of course, in organizations can be at different stages of being ready to do this, but of course, most of us are experimenting and trying to bring it into our work, for benefit, and maybe not necessarily with the guardrails that you were speaking about, or having clear guidelines around whether or not you can bring it to a customer touch point, or whether it's more for internal, or where are humans in the loop. So I think the risk is not really thinking through that readiness and making sure that that framework is there for the team and all colleagues to go and explore, and for product managers to go and explore and to try to bring that into solutions. So I think that's a risk. Sally?
Yeah, just a couple of things to add, really. I think the other thing is security. How do you make sure your data is ending up in a secure place and the tools that you're using are keeping your data secure? The last thing you want is for information to be shared with a bad actor who can then farm it in their way. So that does depend quite a lot on the design. It also depends a little bit on policy and education, and probably relates to the other risk, which is if you do nothing, you will create an environment where people will do it for themselves, and that opens up the risk. So I think it's a real call to action that if people are starved of their opportunity to experiment and use this technology, they will take it upon themselves to do it. And then you get this shadow effect, which is very, very risky.
Yeah, okay. We have a minute for a quick question, and this one I like to just throw out, and it has nothing to do with AI, but very quickly, each of you, what's one piece of advice you'd give everybody, regardless of role or seat, today facing the challenges we have in tech?
One piece of advice, that's tricky. There's so many. I think throw yourselves at this future. Try and reimagine the future and how we can be a positive influence in getting the best outcome. I think that's our job as product managers. I think it's a really inspiring era. Let's make the best of it.
I completely agree. And I think the role of product management is incredibly important to this. And if I think forward into kind of a product manager role in 2 years' time, and just sort of the the capacity to be having much more headspace, having more control of the product lifecycle than you have today, and just much more data and insight to work with, and agents that can help you really work through that. I think it's embrace it, definitely.
Yep. No, I completely. Yep. No, I completely agree. I think there's some people that are out there that are saying, let's say, product managers will no longer be needed in, let's say, 2-3 years because of how AI agents are being good. Now, the engineers or designers, they can take the entire work. But actually, I think it's becoming even more important because of the fact that there's a lot of latent capabilities that the AI agents have. And it's actually, I think, the product's job to actually figure that out and try to experiment and bring that to product. So I think as a product, if you really experiment and think about what you can do, I think there's a huge, that would be the huge for us.
That's perfect ending. We're going nowhere. I love it. All right, that's it. That concludes our panel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.